Mel Robbins is excited to share today's conversation, which she believes will leave listeners feeling more peaceful and in control. She welcomes new listeners to the Mel Robbins podcast family and acknowledges that they value their time by choosing to listen to something that can help them improve their lives. Mel mentions that today's conversation is about stress and how to lower it, but she wants to put it in a bigger context, given that it's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. She had the honor of sitting down with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s son and daughter-in-law, who have a new podcast called My Legacy. During the conversation, Martin Luther King III shared that true power lies in one's response, and that nonviolence is not passive, but the most courageous form of action. Mel introduces Dr. Aditi Nirakar, a Harvard medical doctor and researcher who is an expert in stress and public health. Dr. Aditi is a lecturer at Harvard Medical School and has a background in integrative medicine. She was the medical director of Harvard Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital's integrative medical program and has seen patients every day, teaching them evidence-based approaches to manage stress. Dr. Aditi is going to help listeners understand what's causing their stress and how to reclaim their power by changing their response to it. Mel Robbins had a previous conversation with Dr. Aditi that changed the way she thinks about stress. Dr. Aditi explained that stress is a physiological and neurological state, not just a feeling. She described how the prefrontal cortex, or thinking brain, turns off and the amygdala, a small almond-shaped part of the brain, turns on, putting the brain in a response mode that hijacks the ability to be calm and think. Dr. Aditi mentions that 70% of people in the U.S. are struggling with stress, and a study in the UK found that over 90% of people are experiencing burnout. Mel Robbins asks Dr. Aditi to explain the concept of horizonlessness, a term coined by journalist Kayana Moghadam Daudai. Dr. Aditi describes it as a feeling of not having a sense of direction or excitement about the future. She explains that when people are going through a period of acute stress, they keep their emotions pent up, but when they feel psychologically safe, the dam breaks and those emotions come to the surface. Dr. Aditi notes that many people are feeling a sense of horizonlessness, which is associated with the dam breaking and the release of pent-up emotions. She emphasizes that it's essential to understand that if someone is feeling horizonlessness, they are not alone. Mel Robbins shares her own experience of feeling horizonlessness and asks Dr. Aditi to elaborate on the concept. Dr. Aditi explains that horizonlessness is not just about being confused or unsure about the future, but about feeling a lack of emotion or excitement about it. She notes that this feeling is different from being angry or frustrated about not being able to achieve something. Dr. Aditi emphasizes that horizonlessness is a common experience, especially in the post-pandemic era, and that it's essential to acknowledge and understand it to move forward. If you enjoyed this episode till now and want to listen to the complete episode, please subscribe to Quick Podcast Summaries on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for just $1 per month, and you can save an average of 20 hours per week of your precious time. It's a fantastic deal to save time and stay informed.